and welcome to my GitHub workshop right here on Twitch as usual. So thank you. I see one person is there in the stream, so thank you so much for joining. My simple policy here is I'm going to do these workshops irrespective of anybody comes or not, because my plan is to do the workshop live and then I will go ahead and get the recording downloaded from Twitch, and then I'm going to upload it on YouTube, and hopefully a few months down the line or years down the line, some amount of gathering will happen and there'll be some actual live workshop participants. So that is the idea here. So my name is Jay, I'm a coding tutor, and today what I want to do is I would like to go ahead and discuss a few common things about GitHub. I want to show a general usage of GitHub. I have one participant here, and then we will try to see if there are any questions. If there are any questions, then I should be able to answer those questions. If there are no questions, then I have a few things I would like to discuss. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let me get the chat here. I'm still trying to learn how to use the GitHub interface. They have this chat option, and it is so small, it's impossible to actually see who is chatting with you. So I can't make the chat window bigger. Let me see. Look at that. I don't have the option at all. The chat window is so small, and when somebody is chatting with you, we can't even look at it. I don't know why they would build such a difficult to use software. It's so bizarre. See, this is the things I'm talking about. Oh, pop-out chat. There is a button called pop-out chat. Okay, there we go. All right, so excellent. I can pop out chat. Excellent. Okay, I can put the chat out. Okay, so I see two of my students are here. Hi, Pani, welcome to the stream. Hi, Gautam, welcome to the stream. So I do have two students. So guys, go ahead, just like last time. Please go ahead and put any questions you have. While you do that, I will try to do my basics and so on. Now, it is my belief that any developer should go ahead and use GitHub from day one. In fact, in my classes, I actually spend the first few sessions teaching my students how to use GitHub before I teach anything else. So according to me, GitHub is the most important tool a developer can learn even before you can learn coding. Now, the first thing is, because my computer already has GitHub, I'm not able to show how to install GitHub or how to create an account and stuff like that. But fortunately, I have a video. Okay, so I do have a video which explains how to install GitHub. It explains how to use GitHub and so on and so forth. So let me get that link here. So I'm gonna put that on the screen. This is the link I am talking about. So if you are coming in completely new, then I would strongly recommend you go to this video that I have on my YouTube channel. Let me go ahead and fix that spelling mistake. So this is the video I'm talking about. I'm going to try and put this link in the video description, and I'll put this in the chat as well. So let me do that. So if you're just joining in, then I would strongly recommend that you go ahead and try that video. Because that video has steps, very detailed steps on how to let's say create a new GitHub account and how to configure GitHub on your computer. Now, in a nutshell, you will have to do two steps before you can use GitHub. The first step that you have to do is you will have to, of course, create an account on github.com. That would be your first step. And the second step would be you would have to install this software called as Git Bash. Okay, so Git Bash is a software which allows you to interact with your Git account, and these are the two things you will need to install. So that video that I shared with you, this video that I am now showing on the screen, and I've shared the link on the stream as well, and I have gone ahead and I'll put this, when I upload this to the YouTube channel, I'll put this link in the description as well. So please go ahead and try to watch this video if you want to do the very first step, which is creating an account on GitHub and also using Git Bash. Now, once you have these two things ready, then you can actually use GitHub, and that's the part I want to go ahead and explain right now. And I'll also share a few general, commonsensical tips and tricks that you can use to make your GitHub experience better. So I'm going to share some common tips and tricks that I do on a daily basis whenever I use GitHub. So that is what this workshop is all about. So I expect this to be a very short one, unless there are any questions and things like that. So we'll come to that. If there are no questions, it's okay. I want to just do these workshop as a practice for myself, so that one day, hopefully, if I get a bigger audience, I'll have enough practice doing it. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about using GitHub. The very simple thing you would do in GitHub is, one, you would create what is called as a repository on GitHub, and second thing, you'll go ahead, clone it, okay, and then you do a number of Git activities. So these are the things I want to cover today in this workshop. So let's go to my GitHub account. So I'm gonna go to my browser and I'll log into my GitHub account. Now this is how Git will look when you log in. You'll have, I still don't have a way to draw on my screen, unfortunately, so I don't have that. So what I can do is I can use the sniping tool and I can take a screenshot. So I think I can take a screenshot of this page and I can draw on this screen. So there you go. So I can use this to explain what I'm trying to explain. So when you go to GitHub, you will end up in a place like this. So the first thing is, on the left side, you will see your recent activity. You will see like all the repositories that you're working on and things like that. You can search for a repository if you have too many repositories. Like I have way too many repositories, so I can search for it. And this center area is kind of like your social feed. You know how in Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, you have like a feed where you go ahead and see the updates and things like that. So there is an element of social networking on GitHub. A lot of times I get hired by people on GitHub. So you can think of GitHub is almost like a social media where people share what they're up to. They share the projects they are working on. They like something. I'll show there's something called starring and following. I'll talk about it today and things like that. So there you go. That is your like a code feed, kind of like a social media for developers and things like that. And here on the right side, you will see some updates from the GitHub company. The GitHub company is always doing some new things and things like that. So they keep a update about what improvements they are bringing to GitHub. Some of them is maybe useful to you. Some of them may not be useful to you. For example, I see here that I am using this GitHub Copilot. I made a video about it a few days ago. It's there on my YouTube channel. So GitHub Copilot is the AI. In fact, today when I practice GitHub, I'll show the AI also because I'm using it. So that being available, I got the notification in the changes like that, and I was able to go to the website and purchase the GitHub Copilot subscription. I was able to sign up for the beta, beta usage, which was free last year, and things like that. So there you go. So that might be useful to you, may not be useful to you, depending on what you're up to. Now, one more thing I like about the landing page of GitHub is this part. So what happens is, see, as you go into, as you keep using GitHub, all right, like for example, let me just minimize this for a second. So when let's say let me go to my account. Okay, so I'm gonna go to my account. So there you go, that's my account, that's me. You can see my photo there, and I'm gonna talk about this after some time. So for example, I have this repository called Front End for Students. So suppose you are visiting my repository and you like what I am doing here, then you have an option to star my repository. So it's like, it means that you found my repository useful and hence you are giving me a star. Now, I mean, of course, I only have 56 stars. Most of them are from my students. But there are repositories, for example, if I go to Bootstrap and GitHub, now these are repositories which will have, look at that, 162,000 stars. So that means that much useful it has been, this Bootstrap repository. So what GitHub will try to do is, as you star more and more things, GitHub will try to recommend, it will try to recommend repositories that you might find useful. So it will try to recommend every time you log in, it will try to recommend repositories that you might be interested in. You know how like in Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, the more you like something, the more you follow something, they will try to tell you like, hey, do you want to follow this group? Do you want to follow this person? Do you want to follow this account? And things like that, like recommendations. So I have found this very, very useful. So every day I log in to GitHub, I always make it a point to look at the recommendations, and if something is interesting, what I do is, like, let's say for example, right now I'm just gonna reload this page just to see if I can get some more recommendations. So there you go, I'm getting a different type of recommendation. So let's say, I mean, there's something about IntelliCode, so maybe this is interesting to me, so I'll go here, open it, I will look at it, I'll see what it's all about. Maybe I'll check out the documentation, and if this is something that is useful to me, then I can star it so that it gets added to my star list, or I can simply take this link and put it in my diary or something so that I can use it in a future project or something like that. So the moment you log in, see, this is another reason why I tell my developers, use GitHub every day, and then the more you use it, it's like you're part of a community, so you get all kind of information just from this front page. So this is one thing I want to share with my students, log into GitHub every day, just like you might be using Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever app you use every day. Just like that, make it a point to come to github.com and you'll get a lot of extra information and things like that. Next, along with these recommendations, there is also a recommendation about updates. So you have even more updates happening in the For You section. So there is the following section. These are people you are following. For example, there's an option where, for example, many of my students, if I go to my profile, they are following me. So you can see here that I have like some 173 followers. So what happens here is I am also following some people. So whenever they do something, not following, sorry, these are the folks that I'm following, and these are updates about my work. So those will come in the following section, and this is the social media feed or something like that. So there you go. So both of these things very useful to daily developers. Now, it may not be that useful. There are some people who don't like this. I've seen, when this was, you can see it's still in beta. So, I think there's a, feedback. If you go here, there are a lot of people who are like, complaining. If you go here, there are a lot of people complaining about why do we need this? Why do we need these social media features? Why do we need these kind of features? So there are a lot of people complaining about it as well. So, these things happen, Anyway, we don't have to worry about it. But for me, it is useful. I like the social media feed. I like the explore feed. I like all those things, and it might be useful to you as well. So that's about the main landing page about GitHub. Now, what do we do here though? One more thing I want to talk about is your GitHub profile. Okay, your GitHub profile, you should really make it look good as you can. The very first thing is, once again, let me take a photo here. Let me go ahead and take a new photo. So once again, let me make it bigger. Right, there you go. So now I always tell my students, once you create a GitHub account, please put a photo immediately. Okay, unless you're trying to be all mysterious and things like that, please go ahead and put a nice, whatever you think is the nice photo right there. Okay, don't keep it the default auto-generated icon or whatever. Please show people how you look, and don't put some photo from high school or college ID or something like that. Please take a selfie. Everybody has smartphones these days, and I think even the basic smartphone has a decent camera. Just take a nice photo and use that there. So let people know how you look. Also, please update it at least once a year. Okay, don't update it, and no, don't use some 5-year 10-year-old photo which is not how you look today. Like this photo, this is how I look right now with my hair and everything. Second thing, add a short description. Let people know what you're doing. If you're a student, then mention that you're a student. If you're looking for a job, then mention you're looking for a job. If you're working, then mention you're working. So give a small, very short description. And then here, this is very, very useful, at least to me. Mention your location. That really helps. Maybe there are other developers in a specific city who are trying to network with you. Maybe they're trying to contact you, work with you, and things like that. Mention your email address. For me, I'm a freelancer, so people may want to contact me to give me work. So I always make sure I put my email address there. And then, there are a lot of options to links. You can link your Twitter. If you use Twitter, please link it. If you use Twitch, please link it. If you use, what is this called? Coding Tutor J, Instagram. So there you go. You can link your Instagram. You can link your LinkedIn. So you can link your social media and all that. So let people know who you are and what you are, your online presence. And if you don't have these things, if you're a developer, having these things might help you. I'm a freelancer, so for me, these things are very, very important. So I use them. I update whenever I can. So you may also want to start doing it. It really will help you. Never know where and when you might meet someone, and it might help your career and things like that. Now, for me, all of these are very useful, probably because I'm a freelancer, but I believe it helps any kind of professional to have these things updated. So that's about the profile and things like that. Now you do get some badges and things like that. You can see here that I have some badges, and I have a pro badge because I pay for the GitHub Pro subscription and all that. So that's not that important anyway. The next thing which I always ask people to do is make sure you have a few repositories pinned. See, there's an option here to pin. When you're working, you will have many repositories. You can see here that I have like 66 repositories. So out of these 66 repositories, I believe the C# for students, P5.js for students, front end for students, and tutoring for students, and Node.js for students. Now these are the main things I teach. That is what I do. I'm a coding tutor. That is why I'm doing this workshop. So I feel these are important, so I keep them as my main repositories. So even if you're a new developer, whatever you feel is the best repository for you, pin them on the landing page. So again, let people see your best work. Even if you don't have anything to show, you should you create some repositories. Don't worry about the star. Don't worry about the number of stars. For example, this repository, it only has 3 stars. I don't care. For me, that is important, and I'll put it there. Okay, and even these, this one is like 56 stars. It's not a very big number. Seriously, it's not a very big number, but I am proud of it. I'm happy for it. A lot of times whenever I take a class, I ask my students, if they can star. So, if I didn't ask, I'm sure I would not get that many stars. So either way, what I'm trying to say is showcase whatever is your best repository on the landing page. Next thing is, you see these contributions. I know this may not be the most technical way of understanding a developer, but whenever I meet somebody, especially when somebody tries to work with me, like sometimes when I'm working for a client, we have to interview developers. Sometimes I'll be interested in hiring interns and things like that. The first thing I do is, one, I ask the developer to give me their GitHub ID, the link, like this is your GitHub ID in the top, right? That is your GitHub ID. So I will visit their GitHub profile, and the first thing I do is I look at their contributions. So if they have a regular contribution, then I know that they are an active developer. They care about coding, they are actively working and things like that. I mean, they may be a real developer without using GitHub. I'm not saying GitHub is the only way to find out that you are a good developer. Not at all. There are many ways to find out if a person is a good developer. But for me, especially in the freelancing industry, especially for students, for teaching and all that. So whenever I meet a student and a student says, "Sir, I want to work with you. Sir, I would like to be involved in your work. Can you hire me for a project?" or things like that. So first thing I do is I want to see their GitHub contributions. So if you're a fresher developer, if you're a student developer, or you are a freelancer, then it is important that you have a nice GitHub contribution. Now, if you're a new GitHub person, like you created the account after watching this video, then obviously there'll be nothing to show. But start using it. Slowly, the dots will start coming. Once again, I want to remind whoever is listening to my words, that is not the only way to measure how good or bad developer you are. Seriously, but it is something I use as a measure of measuring a developer's ability. Yeah, something I do. I don't care if it's right or wrong. It's useful to me. Okay, so that's about the contributions and everything. So that's the general outlook about GitHub. Now, how do we use GitHub? Let's do that. I've told you about the extra things that you do in GitHub, but how do we actually use it? Now, I already told you that if you want to create an account, you have to install git bash, you have to create account. Now, these things I have put in this video, so please watch that video before going to the next step, which I'm going to show right now. So once you have a GitHub account, and then once you have git bash, then it's time to play with GitHub. So what we do is, the very first step is go on the top right corner and create a repository. So there you go. I'm going to go ahead and click on create repository. Now there is an option here called template. I don't have any templates right now, so I'm not going to use it. So today I'm just showcasing it. So I'm going to say what is the date today? Today it is Feb 16th. And I'm going to just say temp delete. So I'm just going to put the word delete in the title because I want to delete it after this workshop. So I want to give a description. Some people don't give a description, but I like documentation. I'm a developer, I like to document everything. So I'm going to say a repository created to show how GitHub works, because that's what I'm trying to do. Now you can make it public. Public means everybody can see it. You can make it private, which means only you and your team members can see it. So I'm going to make it private right now. And then I'm going to add this README file, which is very useful for documentation. And there is something called gitignore. Now gitignore is a little difficult to explain today, because today is just about the basics. But in a nutshell, gitignore means in every project there are these extra files that you don't want to store in your GitHub repository. So you want to ignore unnecessary files. So those are called gitignore. So let's say I'm working on a Node.js project. Node.js means front-end development, back-end development using JavaScript, front-end development using JavaScript. So anything related to JavaScript, we use Node. License, it depends. I'm from India and I'm a tutor. Also, it's a private repository, so I don't really care about license. So maybe depending on your project, you may have to care about it, but I don't have to worry about it. So I'll just put license as none, and then I'm just going to click on create repository. So there you go. Now that takes care of the creating of the repository. So once you create the repository, what you can do is, if you go to settings, see, normally whenever I create a private repository, Usually what I want to do is I want to invite someone. So okay, so I'm using what is called as two-factor authentication. Okay, so very important, after you create the account, please remember to ensure that you also have enabled two-factor authentication. So please remember to enable two-factor authentication in your GitHub account. Very, very important to enable two-factor authentication. So please do that. So that is what is happening right now. I need to get my authenticator code. Hold on. Okay, I just got my authenticator app. Let me enter the code here. Let's do it. 864069. Okay, there it is. So you will reach this spot where you have an option called collaborator. Now if you're working in a team, you can invite them. Now because this is a private repository, only those people you have invited can have access to it. So you can just click on add people and you can just add someone. So let me see if if I have my audience here. I have a couple of students. Let me see if they're online. If they're online, guys, if you're online, can you type your GitHub ID in the chat? Let me see if they type their chat. If they're still listening, then they'll give me their GitHub ID. If nobody, if there is not, just type your friend's name, whichever person you're working with. For example, I work with a person called Tej, and if I want to invite him, I can just search him here and then I can just invite him. So let me see. I think my students are currently occupied, so I can't find any ID right now. So there you go. I'm just doing this workshop alone. So whichever team member you're working with, simply enter their ID. Let me see if I can invite myself. Yeah, I can't invite myself. So there you go. So enter whatever is the person you're working with, and then you can go ahead and add them as a collaborator to your private project. So there is no limit. Oh, there you go. One of the students has given me, thank you, Funny. So let me go ahead and say Funny dash. So there you go. I have invited Funny Shaker to the repository, and now he is part of this private repository. So he will get an invitation and he will be able to go ahead and accept, and he will have access to this private repository. So one of the basic things you will do is you'll go to settings, and then you'll go ahead and update the collaborator. You can add people and you can remove also. So like once, let's say Pani is working with the team today, and then after a few months he leaves the team, you can simply remove him from the repository. So that's something basic you will do. The next thing I want to mention is how will I make some changes. So let's say I want to make some very, very simple changes. For example, I want to change the title, which you are seeing here. I can do it like this. I can go and I can simply say, okay, I can say February. I want to make it a little bit better. So I'm going to say February 16th. I'm going to remove that. I'll say created this repository to show how GitHub works. Funny Shaker is helping me. Gautam is also in the audience. So I just want to add some notes. So you can directly edit files on GitHub, and you can also, there's a button called preview. You can click on it and you can see how it looks. I'm happy with how this looks. So I'll go and say updated readme, updated readme. So it's okay. You can use the same message as for committing. It's fine. So there you go. So now you can see here on the history section, if I click on the repository, I have two commits. The first commit was when I created it, and the second commit is just now when I made some changes. So if I click on this, I can see all the changes that were made. First, I removed this line and I changed this line, and this line became this line became this line became this. And if I want to, I can add a comment and things like that, which is useful when you're working in a team, and so on and so forth. All right, let's come back. Right then, so that's about making changes directly in GitHub, but that is not how we normally work in GitHub. So I want to get this code on my computer. So how would I do that? Now remember, to do this next step, you have to make sure that Git bash is installed and you have configured your GitHub account on your computer. So I'm not able to show that to you today because it's not possible to show. So you have to watch the video to understand how to install Git bash and make Git bash work on your computer. So now how will I get this code on my computer? So I'm going to click on this green button. I'll copy this clone link. It's called clone link. Okay, I'm gonna just put it there. There you go, clone. So on my computer, what I'll do is I'll go here. I have a folder called, normally I keep all my code in the videos folder. The reason is simple. I don't want OneDrive syncing all my code files. So videos folder on Windows is not synced with OneDrive. So I like to keep my code in the videos folder, but you can keep it wherever you want. So next thing, I'll go to the top and very carefully I'll click at the top and I'll get a blue color like that, and I will say CMD and I'll press enter. Then I'm going to say git clone and I'll paste that link and press enter, and that's it. You can see here that the repository is cloned. Now to open it, I'm going to go inside. You see here it has the exact same name which you have on github.com. Same name. So I'll go inside and then I'll right click and I'll go here and I'll open it with VS Code. So there you go. This is now the same thing. Now let me open this GitHub here and you can see here whatever is there online. February 16th, created this repository, funny shaker, and then, oh, see, Funny Shaker has already added something. See, look at that. He's already added something. Thank you so much, Funny. So now he's able to access. You can see here, it shows us that Funny Shaker, 2 minutes ago, he was able to update the README from his computer. So there you go. So that is like a team person working. So, all right then. So now what I want to do is I want to add some files. So let's say I'm working on something like a project, like a website or something like that. So what will I do? Usually I'll create a HTML file. So I don't want to type the code right now. So I'll just go to the website w3schools.com and I'll just copy this code. So let's say I want to type this. So I'll go and say index.html and here I'm going to just say index.html. So there you go. I have a simple file. So let's say this is the website I'm trying to do. If I click on go live, the output will come and say HTML tutorial. So I'll go here and I'll go and say, there it is. So let's say this is the project I'm working on. So just showing some basic GitHub usage. There you go. See, it's working. No problem at all. So let me go ahead and type another line. I'll say thank you, Punny. Punny is trying to help me, so I'm going to say thank you, Punny. There you go. It's coming on the screen. So let's say this is a project I'm working on and now I'm done with this project. So what will I do? I'll go here, I'll open my terminal and then I'll go ahead and type some commands. Now the commands are git status, which shows files which are not yet added. So I'm going to say git add dot. Now I'm going to say git status again. I get it in green color. Green color means the files have been added. Then I'm going to say git commit, commit. Then I'm going to press A. I'll type some message like practice commit, and I'm going to say the same message again, practice commit, and then I'm going to say shift : WQ. Then I see that it's been added, and now the only thing I need to do is git push, and that's it. So the code gets pushed to the internet. So if I go here back to my repository, I can see here that new file I created is now pushed and available on my Git repository. So this would be the most basic way of using GitHub, so you can use it directly on the browser, you can use it on your computer in VS Code and things like that, and you run the commands in the bottom of the screen. Now there is a link, I've written a blog about this. Let me share that here. Let me put that link in the description, and I'll also show it on the screen so you can try and read it to get all the commands. So let me just get that link here. So I'm going to put it in the chat. Hold on. Okay, I put the link in the chat. I'm still learning how to use this Twitch and all this, so sometimes I'll become very slow. There you go. I put the link in the chat, and I'm going to put the link on my PowerPoint as well. So let me go ahead and do that. Right. So whatever commands I used, I put those commands in this link. Oh, it's not coming as a link. It's coming as a hold on. So I'm gonna have to get that link. I don't think, let me see if I can paste it just as text. Oh, there you go. I know it's a very long link. I think there's a link shortener I can use. Let me see if I can get it. Hold on. I think there are link shorteners that I can use. Let me get a link shortener. Okay, all right. Let me see. Oh, bit.ly. Yeah, there we go. A tiny URL. That's the one. Okay, so I'm just going to put the link on the, hold on, and I'm going to say make tiny URL, and there it is. Okay, so I use the tiny URL website to make a link. There you go. Very, very simple, right? This is what people like, everything being short and simple. So there it is. That link is an article I have written on my blog, which gives you like the commands that I used. If you're not able to see it on the video or something, you can go to this link and you should be able to look at all the commands and things like that. So that is all I wanted to do today. I think we've already gone to some 30+ minutes today, so I was hoping to wrap it up in 20 minutes. So there you go. That is all the things I wanted to explain and discuss today. I don't have anything else that I want to talk about. So I think Funny is asking me to put the link again in the chat. So let me put that. There you go. There it is. Okay. So folks, there you go. If there are any questions, let me see if there are any questions from Funny or Gautam. If there are any questions, any small questions, I'll take the questions. If there are no questions, guys, this is all I wanted to discuss today. So thank you so much, Funny, for coming to the workshop. And next workshop, we'll try to go into a little bit more detail, like branches and issues and discussions and other features of GitHub. So we'll go into that in the next workshop. So this is where I want to wrap it up. So I'm just waiting to see if Funny has any quick questions for me, but I don't think Funny is asking me a question. Let me see. Funny is asking something about if this is related to anything like job search. Well, Funny, some people, I've seen some people searching for developers on GitHub, but there is no specific job searching department. I don't think so. I don't think so, Funny. I don't think so. I don't think that is related here. Yes. Again, the answer is no, Funny. Not really. The Git technology is useful mainly for coding. So other industries, I don't see why they will use this, because the reason why we use Git is because we have so many files and we have so many people coding and using the files at the same time. So that is where this becomes very useful. So when you don't have too many of these small files, software is, I think, is the only industry where you have so many people working on a single project, like files, at the same time. So I would say no. Yeah, it is mainly in software only. Yes. Okay. Those are the two questions Funny has. So thank you for asking those questions, Funny. It is always nice at the end of a workshop when I have some questions to answer. So let's wrap it up here. Funny, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much, Gautam, if he's still there. He was there in the beginning, so thank you so much, Gautam, for coming into our workshop. And again, guys, we'll keep doing these workshops on a regular basis, so you can join us on our Discord. We have a lot of discussions going on Discord all the time. And of course, we have our website. You may want to visit our website to find out and join our free workshops and classes and discussions and things like that. So once again, thank you so much for joining. This is Jay here, and I'll see you guys in the next workshop. Take care. Bye bye.